Hello, everyone, and welcome to Paula's Soapbox Live. Today's guest is a multi-talented performer, and she has a new web series coming out at the end of the month. They're going to air the rest of season 1 of You're the Pest. It's my pleasure to welcome to the show Taylor Coriell. Hi,
Hi.
Taylor. Thank you for coming on. I'm so happy to meet you finally.
Yeah, it's nice. Not over email.
Yeah, not over email. So you grew up in musical theater. So how did you get into that?
Well, I guess it was when I was in elementary school. I did the choir teacher at my elementary school was married to the choir teacher at the high school in Lexington, and they were looking for Towns kids for their production of Hello, Dolly. And I auditioned and I got cast. So that was my first musical. And then I kind of got bit by the bug there. And then I continued to do musical theater all through middle school and high school. I went to a performing arts middle school and high school. And then I went to school for voice. I went to college for voice.
Yeah. Yeah. So you majored in voice. And you can sing opera, right?
Yep, that was my degree. My degree was in opera and classical music.
Wow. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to sing the opera because I know that's probably something you kind of have to warm up to.
Thank you. Yeah, I should probably warm up before I do that.
Well, you've said that one of your defining moments in your life was when you attended a question and answer or Q&A with actress Julie Harris. So what made that moment so significant for you as a child?
Wow, what an interesting memory to bring up. Yes, so I had the great fortune to go see her in the Belle of Amherst. It was on tour when I was 11, and she was out on the road with it, and it came through the Lexington Opera House. And my mother knew a gentleman who had been old friends with Julie Harris. And so he got me a ticket and I went with him by myself. So it was like a big trip for an 11-year-old to go to the theater by myself. And then I got to go to a question and answer with her afterwards. And I had just started a new school. I had just started this performing arts school, and I wasn't with any of the people I normally went to school with. And I was in this new space, and I'm sure, as you've heard a million times, it's being a performer, you know, especially at such a young age, your confidence isn't always like, you know, through the roof, especially when you're like awkward and 11 and you have red hair and freckles and you're like, what's happening with my life? I don't know what's happening. And so I don't know what it was, but I was sitting in the audience in this question and answer, and my mother had said, Taylor, you know, think of a question that you want to ask Miss Harris in case she calls on you or something. Yeah. And of course, I was the only kid in this question and answer session. And I had somebody had got me in the front row so that I could see. But it was Miss Harris and a gentleman who was sort of, I guess, like her handler, who was sort of picking the people who he would, have ask her questions. And I kept raising my hand, but he was clearly not going to pick a small child who's sitting in the front row to ask a question. And she kept, I remember distinctly, I know she kept seeing me. And so finally she waved him off, and she came over and she said, "What's your question?" And I think I asked her something like, you know, when did you know that you wanted to be an actress? And I just remember her looking at me and saying, well, I remember when I was just, you know, a kid just like you with red hair and freckles, and I was sort of gangly and awkward. I don't think she called me awkward, but she really related to me. And she was like, you know, I just took it one day at a time. And she was like, I knew it's what I love to do and that it's what I had to do. And I was sort of like, at 11 years old, I was like, thank you for this profound answer. And then, of course, the gentleman that I had come with snapped a picture of me and her. So I have this lovely memory. And then I also, I'm in my room right now. I have the poster that she signed of the Belle of Amherst up in my room. And it's always there so that I can look at it. But it was a very special moment for me. And I always remember it. I always remember that moment. And then she passed away a few years ago, as did the gentleman who brought me to to the show, but I have special memories of both of them and how encouraging they were of me from a very young age for like no reason other than just wanting to be encouraging of a young performer.
Yeah, well, it's good when people can do that because you never know when you're going to affect someone's life in such a profound way.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely.
And you can figure skate?
Yep. So in addition to
the opera singing and this is why I said multi-talented.
Like a Renaissance woman, I guess.
Yeah.
I started skating when I was 8. And then when I skated, I competed until I was about 14, I suppose, 14 or 15. And then, high school and and all of the theater that I was doing kind of started taking over. So I still skated every morning, and I still practiced and I still did shows at my rink, but I wasn't competing as much. So, but about from the time I was 8 until I was 18, I got up early and went to practice every morning before school.
Wow. So you were serious about it.
Uh-huh. Yep, definitely. I love it. And I still go skating when I can. I can't do any of my doubles anymore, but I still have some spins. I still have some jumps. I think I'm doing pretty good for late 20s.
Yeah. If you can still do that and you're not, still like training or anything, I think that's very impressive.
Yeah. Every once in a while, like I did a commercial for a car, like I did an international commercial for a car company last year where they needed figure skaters. And they like dressed us up in like designer clothes and made us jump around at the rink in Central Park for a long time. So that was
that sounds like fun.
It was a funny experience. Every once in a while it like comes up and is very useful to have, strangely.
That seems like it would be so much fun to be able to do that. I'm guessing that you watched the Winter Olympics this year. So
oh boy. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. And my mom and my sister and I went to the nationals last January. So that had always been kind of a dream of me and my mom is to go to that. And my sister lives in Kansas City now, and so the nationals were in Kansas City last year, so we got to go with her and my sister, and it was really fun. So
that sounds like fun. Yeah. And especially since you competed, so that would be a really good experience to have with your family.
True. Well, and it's also kind of crazy because of it's crazy how skating has changed in a lot of ways and also hasn't changed in a lot of ways since I quit competing. I love that women are doing quads now.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I remember, when I was skating, Sasha Cohen was, wow, that's an old name. She was working on quads when I was really, really still in it and competing and paying attention all the time. But now it seems more and more like, women are kind of almost being held to the same standard as men, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And I like that, so.
Girls can do it too, so,
yeah.
Well, I know that you moved to New York City, obviously by way of Kentucky, with a friend, and then later you helped another friend move to New York. So did something happen in a place called Accident, Maryland?
Yes. Yeah. So my one of my best friends, Kelsey, moved up to New York a couple of years ago, and she moved up from Kentucky, so I flew down and we drove like the 12 or 13 hours from Kentucky to New York. And it took longer than we thought. And like driving a U-Haul is very, very different than driving like a car or even like a pickup truck. So we had this huge U-Haul and it was taking us longer than we thought. And we were getting tired, or I can't remember if we like got lost at some point, but anyway, night was falling. It was getting dark outside, and we had a hotel that we had booked at a certain point because we knew we wanted to stop and at least take like, a few hours to sleep before
it's a long drive.
Yeah. And it's a really long drive. It was getting dark and we were trying so hard to get there. And our first mistake was, how like when you're driving and you pass a gas station, you probably should stop to get gas. Like, unless you just stopped, so like moms would tell you, don't pass a gas station without stopping.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in an area of the country you don't know very well. So we passed this gas station and we're like, oh, there'll be another one. So like An hour or two goes by and our gas tank is getting low. And it's one of those ones that like counts down the miles till you're empty.
Of course.
Oh, it was so nerve-wracking. But we were sitting there watching like the numbers like count down of like how many miles till we were empty. And there was nothing. There were no lights. There were no like rest stops. There was nothing. There was nobody else on the road. And again, we were somewhere in Maryland at this point. And so we pull off, we finally see something that has like one of the little gas station icons. And we're like, go there. And so we like turn off the road, but it's not immediately off the road. So we're driving down this darkened, like foresty road in the middle of nowhere. And then we start seeing like it was like out of a horror movie. A mist like settles down on the road. And then like we're driving, we can't see like 10 feet in front of us. And like all of a sudden a car comes out of nowhere and is like honking at us. And we're like, ah! Like, and then finally like we see like a sign with like a truck that's tipping over. I guess it's like trucks tip over at wherever, like, because it was kind of winding and curvy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we finally get to the gas station. This is turning into a huge long story, but it was so scary. We finally pull into this gas station and like the lights are off, nobody was around. Or no, the lights were on, but nobody was around. There was nobody in there. There were no other cars. And so Kelsey, my friend, gets out to put gas in the tank. And I'm like I'm looking up directions, like where are we? And I sent a message to somebody on Facebook Messenger, and you know how it tells you your location?
Yeah.
It popped up and said, sent from Accident, Maryland. And I was like, this is a horror film. And at that moment, the lights in the gas station went off. Kelsey was like, Taylor, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. So we like get out of the car. We try to go into the gas station. The one lady who we hadn't even seen, who was in there, she worked there, I guess, locks the door and like walks away really quickly. And we're like, get back in the car, get back in the car. And we just like drove out of there like as quickly as we could. It was so scary. It was like every single thing that happens in a horror movie we did. Like
right down to the name of the town.
Yeah, Accident, Maryland. Like what? Like who names? I'm sorry to whoever could be watching, who could be from Accident, Maryland, but like, are you not afraid all of the time living there?
Right. Yeah, that would not be a town that I would want to move to.
Nope, not at all. So, yeah, but I could just hear the movie audience like yelling and being like, "Don't go there! Yeah. Don't turn off the road!" Like, it was horrible.
Oh, wow. So were you finally able to get the gas somewhere?
We got the gas. We got in the car, we pulled out, and we drove as fast as we could away until like it didn't show up as Accident, Maryland in my phone anymore. And then we pulled over at like a Sheetz, because Sheetz, do you know what Sheetz are? They're like this gas station. I don't know. People up here are like crazy about gas stations. There's like Wawa in Jersey. Nobody in the South is like this about gas stations, but
yeah, just
it's so wherever you can. Yeah, it's so weird, but yeah, like Sheetz is a godsend on the road because they all have great food and whatever. And so we finally found a Sheetz, pulled off, and we're like, "What just happened to us? Where were we?
Parallel universe or something?
Where did we go wrong? I don't know." So that's the story of Accident, Maryland.
Wow. I remember never to visit that place.
And when you I guess the moral of the story is like when you pass a gas station and you're like half tank, stop and get more gas. I guess.
Right. If you're at a gas station that looks like you can trust it and it's well lit and
yeah, preferably with other people around.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So, and when you first came to New York, I guess it was when you first moved, or it might have been when you were just kind of getting familiar with where you were going to live and that sort of thing. You were an extra on quite a few well-known shows. Smash was one of them. It was pretty popular while it was on.
Yeah.
Boardwalk Empire, The Good Wife. So, do you have any interesting stories to tell about being on the set of those shows?
Wow. I was just talking the other day with a friend of mine who I moved up here really soon after she did, and we did a lot of background together. We did Pan Am together, which, if anybody remembers that show, it had like one season.
Yeah, I remember that show.
Yeah, Pan Am, Good Wife. I don't know. I guess, doing background on any show is definitely an interesting experience. It's a great way to see how a set works, especially like a huge set with like a ton of people and a ton of like money going into it. And if it's a great show, like I remember being on Good Wife. I think who was the judge that week? I mean, obviously Juliana Margulies is a vision. And I can't remember who the judge was that week. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna want to die when I remember who it is. I'm sure I'll remember like in 30 minutes. But just getting to watch those people, work and see what they do with the script, and then to get to watch it and see how what they did kind of reads and how it all kind of gets put together into a final product is really fascinating. But it also lets you see like the other side of a lot of really interesting things. Like I think when I was shooting Smash, I did 2 episodes of Smash, and one of them I got to go to the Plaza Hotel and like I talked to Christian Borle, which was like a really strange experience. I don't know. It's one of those things that couldn't happen anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's like definitely an experience. It's definitely an experience, and it's one of a kind experience every time you do it.
Yeah. Especially if you watch the show beforehand, then yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what is New York Princess Party?
It's one of my side jobs. I basically dress up as a princess for little kids' birthdays, and then I go play with them.
That would be like the most fun job ever.
There's 2 things that when they give us training sessions, they say one of 2 things will happen when you enter the party. Either the kid will freeze up and like hide behind their mom and be really, really shy, or they'll have a complete and utter meltdown, which is honestly the best, because they obviously recognize you as some sort of princess or other, and they just lose it. They lose it, and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're at my birthday party. How did you get here? This is incredible, Mom, Dad, this is awesome." So it's always really fun to like add like a little extra sparkle to that birthday.
Yeah, you make their day.
Yeah. It's really like most of the time we're only there for an hour and a half, but like it's just an experience that they'll probably always remember, and it just makes the day, for lack of a better word, it makes it a little magical.
Yeah.
So
how many different princesses have you played doing that?
I've worked for a couple of different princess companies. I can't technically say the names of the princesses I play. Okay. But I bet you could look it up on my social media.
Yeah, there's some pretty epic pictures there that are.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it has to be so much fun. I mean,
it's so much fun.
So we've established, obviously, you're from the South, I'm from the South.
Yeah.
We love our storytelling.
Yes.
So do you think that being from the South has shaped you as a storyteller now?
Wow, that's a great question. I guess I have to say yes. I mean, I think one of the things that I've learned a lot in New York is that as an actor, or just as an artist in general, the thing that makes your point of view specific and unique and interesting to other people is what you personally bring to that. And I used to think, oh, that sounds like such a platitude. But I think the longer that I'm here and the more I see it apply not only to what I create, I see it reflected in my friends' work as well. I have a lot of creator friends, a lot of writer friends, a lot of actor friends, and there's, having a specific point of view and a specific experience. I mean, there's nobody else who has lived your life, so what is more unique than that? So, there's this very specific culture in the South of storytelling and music and things like that. And I think it would be a big error for me to say that it didn't shape me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So You're the Pest, speaking of storytelling, that's a unique web series. So how did the idea for that come about?
Sure, yeah. Well, so my co-creator and I, Jasmine Romero, this is such like a random story. We met in an acting class, I think maybe 4 years ago, and we happened to live next door. She still lives like 2 blocks away from me. And I one day was out like at a restaurant. I was studying outside. I was studying a script that I had. And I posted like annoyingly, like an annoying millennial, I posted a picture of myself on Instagram being like, script study, brunch time, like, ugh, so insufferable. But but Jasmine saw it and she texted me and said, hey, wait there, I'll be right there. And so she came and we sat and we were having brunch and there were these dudes at a table next to us. And they started talking to us. And if Gabe is watching, hey, Gabe. And so they had seen me with my script and they said, oh, are you guys actresses? And we said, oh, yeah, yeah, we're both actresses. We met each other in acting class. And we said, what do you all do? And one of them was like, oh, I'm a personal trainer. And then the other one said that he was an exterminator. And when I think of exterminators, I have a very specific visual in my head of what an exterminator looks like.
Most people do.
As you do, we all have a lot of preconceived notions about what people look like who do certain things. And so he didn't look like it. He's really young, very attractive, kind of looked like a firefighter.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. I was like, I don't think I've ever met an exterminator in my life. And then I said, do you know any female exterminators? And he said no. And it was so weird because I remember Jasmine and I just looking at each other across the table and just like you could see the light bulb like go off above our heads. And we were like, that sounds like a fun show. And, she and I were getting a little perturbed with the lack of like interesting roles for the two of us. She's Latina. So she was getting cast a lot as like Sofia Vergara types, which obviously there's a place obviously for Sofia Vergara, but like that shouldn't be the only thing that Jasmine could play, For me, I got cast as a lot of young moms. I think because I kind of, you can't see them right now, but I have a lot of freckles. I think I look like I'd come over with an apple pie if you had just moved in next door. So I was tired of that and so was she. And so, we said, this might be a really great opportunity to write roles for ourselves that are funny, that play to, a more specific part of our personality that we don't often get cast in. And so that's where we came up with the idea of Marissa and Alex and their sort of strange past careers and how they sort of got this new career foisted upon them.
Yeah. They inherited their father's extermination business. So such a clever idea. And I watched the pilot episode and you can't wait to find out what happens with these two because it's totally a fish out of water type thing.
Definitely fish out of water. And it's hard to say buddy comedy. If frenemy comedy was a thing, I guess that's kind of it. But I think to that point of just having something foisted upon you like that, I guess one of the other things that she and I talked a lot, Jasmine, I should say, and I talked a lot about was that, we're both in our late 20s and around this time of life, it's like everybody is getting ready to move on. And as actors, a lot of people quit around the time they turn 30, they decide that they have something else that they want to do more, or that they want to have a family, or that they want to move to Colorado,
Yeah. And Accident Maryland.
Or Accident Maryland for some reason. But so like, but I watched a lot of these people as they struggled with the idea of like no longer being an actor or being a musician or something like that. I watched them struggle with it and be like, I have failed. And I'm like, just because you decide that you want to do something different doesn't mean that you failed. It means that you found something that makes you happier. And that's not failure, and it's not that you've been wasting time being here, because the path that you've been on as a performer has only led you to this point. You know, it just goes back to life experiences. Like there's no reason to look back at things and be regretful of them. You know, like you're a performer and it shaped who you are as in a big way. And, you know, there's no shame in saying, I don't want to be an actor anymore. I don't want to be a musician anymore. Or like, I'm happy to do like different theater or go back home and start my own company or anything like that. Just because you don't make it in New York doesn't mean that you failed.
Yeah.
And so sort of applying that to sort of a different situation, you know, in the show, Marissa was Miss New York in 2012 and she kind of can't seem to let go of it, but she accomplished like her big goal, you know. What do you do after you accomplish that huge thing that you always wanted, you know, with Alex? And with Alex, it's a little bit different because she wanted to be a cop and she failed out of that. And like, it's no longer an option.
Yeah.
And so like, what do you do when you have to, you know, pick up the pieces of that and try to figure out how to move on and still be happy and find like a new way to give yourself purpose and like what you want to do and what makes you happy.
Which is completely relatable. I think everyone has found themselves in that position in some way or another. So
yeah, and I was always so bummed for my friends who were like, "Oh, I feel like I've failed," and I'm like, "Oh, it's not a failure. Just to find something else new. Just because you've wanted to be a performer since you were 10 years old, and now you're 29, and you want to." I'm speaking of a specific friend, and you want to move across the country and marry the man of your dreams. Like that's not a failure. Like that is. Like
a different kind of dream.
That's a different kind of dream. And congratulations. I mean, to like, you know, that's such a huge like accomplishment and realization for yourself. You know, people struggle their whole life and don't know what they want.
Right.
So, like congratulations and really, yeah. So, you know, that's always kind of been in the back of my mind with the show. And it's hard to fit all of that into 5-minute episodes. But, you know, I thought a lot about where the show goes in the future. You know, Jasmine and I have talked about, I could see like 4 seasons ahead, you know, of like what we would do and how you can explore that in something that's very tiny and bite-sized and, you know, anything like that.
Yeah. So did you have to do like a lot of research for this series or was it something you kind of pulled out of your imagination or?
We did do some research. We also had a technical consultant who also was very, for one thing, I talked to my friend Gabe, who had inspired the show, the original Exterminator. And then we had a technical consultant come on to look at the show around November of last year to just make sure that, you know, we had the lingo right and that, you know, we had the equipment correct and that we were going about things, you know, in the right way. Yeah, it was really fun and he was very helpful and we actually ended up shooting a lot of the show at his company, Standard Pest Management in Astoria. They were very kind to us, very generous. They let us borrow equipment, which was nice. And they gave us some pro tips. So that was also cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine that was very helpful because you know, you really had no place to start if you hadn't met him.
I just have to say, I know more about bed bugs than I ever wanted to know.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was sending some reference images to our visual effects person the other day, and I was like, just don't eat while you look at these.
Yeah.
And also don't be sitting like in your bed. Like you'll get the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
You'll get the heebie-jeebies. You don't want to do it.
So are your characters, are you going to do like the whole social media tie-in with your characters, that sort of thing?
Mm-hmm. They actually, they both have Twitter and Instagram handles. I started running them. They started tweeting and Instagramming back around when we launched the pilot, and then I put them on pause, and they'll start posting again pretty soon.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Marissa on Twitter and Instagram is Forever Miss 2012. And Alex is O'Malley Cat 06.
O'Malley Cat, I like that. It's a good handle.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of old AIM handles, like back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Away messages, silliness. So you can follow both of them on Twitter and Instagram.
Very cool.
Yes.
So new episodes of season 1 will begin airing April 25th, right?
Correct. Yes.
April 25th,
Mm-hmm.
every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, so that'd be 11:30 Central.
Correct.
And I think that's 9:30 Pacific. Yeah, I think I got my math right on that.
They can watch it while they have coffee. My aunt,
Right.
my cousin, and my uncle live in San Francisco, so they can have coffee and watch the show.
Coffee and watch the show.
Yeah.
Maybe they might want to watch it a little later if they're eating. I don't know.
You know what? That's true. Like, don't watch it in bed, guys. Don't watch it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all of my questions. Do you have anything that you would like to add before we go?
I can't think of anything.
Okay.
Nope. Just tune in, and you know what I will say? Web series are near and dear to my heart because they give you an opportunity to find a niche audience that you know, that might not have a show on television that they can watch and see themselves in. And it's always been something, you know, really near and dear to me. And it's funny, you know, when Jasmine and I started writing the show, you know, people had just started talking about women in film and how important it is to see more people reflected on TV. And now it's blown up into this huge thing, and you see it all over Hollywood Reporter all the time. And, you know, all of the trades are talking about more women in film, you know, seeing yourself on screen. And it's always been a huge goal of mine to make sure that people see themselves and the people that they know reflected on screen. And I feel like, I hope in a really small way that people see themselves and their families, you know, represented in a little bit of a way in You're the Pest. And I hope that it's the first of many shows that I get to create where we do that. But web series are awesome and give you a chance to sort of tell stories about people, and, you know, and in a different way than different people than you would see originally on TV or anything more mainstream. And so, but they don't have huge budgets behind them to reach out to you. So when you see something that you like, tell your friends, share the link with them. You know, web series truly live or die by word of mouth.
Yeah.
So
and low budget doesn't necessarily mean low quality either. I want to point that out to everyone, because I think that there's a stigma there. It's like, oh, well, there's not a lot of money behind it, it's probably not any good. That could not be further from the truth. No,
I did a workshop last summer actually with an indie filmmaker who is actually currently making a much bigger budget film than the one she and I had, that she was discussing at this workshop. She made her first feature film for $80,000, which is nothing. But her producing partner made her first feature for $10,000, and you can now watch it on Netflix. So low budget doesn't mean low quality. And I'll even go so far as to say that even if somebody uses the most wonderful camera and they have the prettiest actors and they have the best lights and sound, I don't know, the quality of the material doesn't bespeak the quality of the material.
Exactly. I've said that for years. You can go and see a blockbuster film and it be total crap.
Yeah.
And then see like an indie film and it be like the best thing you've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, just look at something like Broad City. Like, Broad City obviously has a huge following. It's on Comedy Central. But like, if you look at the old web series, they weren't using like amazing equipment. They weren't, you know, shooting on like, you know, a red camera or something like that. They weren't like, but the quality of the writing was so good that they had a huge following, people who felt like they identified with them and that they wanted to see more. And then, you know, Amy Poehler picked it up. So, you know, if you see a web series that you like, and I hope it's You're the Pest, that You're
the Pest is a very good series. And I have to say that I hope that people do check this one out, because I'm really anxious to see what happens with these two characters.
Thank you.
Very good first episode.
And it's just, you know, I hope that when you see it, you share it, and that you share every episode that you really like and that you feel like your friends will like, because that is the only way that series like this gets seen by the people who should be seeing them. Yeah. And that's, you know, people like you and me. Exactly. I don't mean like, you know, distributors or anything. People, audience members who really could benefit from seeing any sort of story like that told. Not just You're the Pest, but web series in general.
Yeah, and there's all kinds out there.
So many. There's so many good ones.
So many good ones, exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, I have the link set up for You're the Pest. It's underneath this video, so people
Great.
can just click on it and go to that. Be sure to click on that. Check out the first episode. I think it's like 5 to 6 minutes long, maybe.
Yep.
So click on that, subscribe to it so that you can be notified when there's new episodes. And, while you're at it, maybe subscribe to my channel as well.
Yay.
So you can see more interviews like this. So, well,
Perfect.
Taylor, thank you so much for coming on. And I hope that you'll come back again soon. This was fun.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you finally in person. And thanks for having me.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks.
So good luck. Good luck with You're the Pest.
Tune in next week.
Yeah. Bye-bye.